This meeting is being recorded.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadehaaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarasvandhakaro Vai Rukarasthannivartakaha Andhakaranirodhitvat Gururityabhidiyate Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Bhadram Karne Vishranyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Estushtvagum Sastanobhi Yashema Devahi Tanyadayu Swastina Indro Vruddhashravaha Swastina Pusha Vishyavedaha Swastina Starksho Arishtanemihi Swastina Brihaspatirdhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Last week we covered aspects on what is the fundamental human problem, which translated into what are the different kind of pursuits and what are we essentially seeking. So we saw that essentially the pursuit is to be happy, even though we call it with different names. Whether we are seeking to understand what is Ishvara, whether we are seeking to understand what is God or where is God, depending on how you are asking that question, or whether we are seeking to understand what is going on around us, or who am I, whatever is the question, the reason we are asking it is primarily because we all want to get back that happy me. I found a happy me during certain contexts, certain situations, when I experienced a me which is complete, which is happy. In moments when I was searching for things, when I was seeking things, and whenever I had that union with that thing which I was seeking, I saw that I suspended all my problems and I was happy. And that happy me is what I'm actually seeking, whether it is a pursuit of dharma or artha or kama or whatever. Eventually that is the pursuit. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. The happy me is what is the reason why I'm having the bondage. I'm searching for different things, seeking different things. So we saw that. We also touched upon what has a book and direct knowledge to do with this. We will talk more on that. And there was some discussion around, is the problem real? We spoke about when I'm clinging on to clutches, I am assuming that I have problem with my limbs, or I take it that I don't have any limbs, because of which I am clinging on to clutches. Have I really looked at whether that is true? In other words, is there a confusion around who I am? These are the things we, I think, covered in the last class. Okay. Now, just like the last week, I wanted to just put some 2-3 questions. I know there were few points that have come up in our WhatsApp group, I'm going to address most of it through 2 or 3 constructs, because I could see where the problems are in terms of the understanding. So I've put some slides and also some thoughts around what I want to cover along those lines. But before that, use your chat and give me your views, because I wanted to just understand how much you had understood based on our discussions and whatever you have already heard through other sessions. What is your understanding of pramana? Just anything, a couple of lines, if you can put it on your chat. Let's look at it. Do you still have audio issues? You're okay? Okay, yeah. Let me check who has. Okay, let me read it for the sake of people listening to recording later, because generally it is difficult for people to understand what's going on. So the answers I'm seeing here: means of knowledge, proof is pramana, but taking Vedanta as pramana is faith, I believe. Then the other one is it gives knowledge which other sources of knowledge cannot provide. It is proof of Shruti, how we can perceive things using our sense organs and pratyaksha pramanas, but Vedanta pramanas are shastragamya, the source of validating what I know. The means of knowledge cannot be negated by other means of knowledge. Yeah, very good points. I think I can see that some of you have listened to Vedanta as a pramana. I will cover a little bit more today. Okay. The next question I have: your thoughts. See, this is a general perception in the Vedanta parlance, right? There is always this thought about, is studying alone enough? And even some of the seers, the very reputed ones, say, have made statements like, even donkey carries books. That does not mean donkey is the most knowledgeable. So the bookish knowledge can only take you so far. After that, you have to bring it in anubhava. You have to experience it. So otherwise it remains bookish knowledge. So these are things you would have heard. Any initial views from all of you in terms of what is your what I would say, leaning, right? Is your leaning also towards this view that anubhava is essential, right? So I'm just trying to provoke some thoughts so that I can also just understand any views. I'm not seeing anything there. Learning has to be cemented with anubhava. We don't have it. That is why this feeling of emptiness. Okay. Anubhava is essential. Even learning itself can lead to anubhava. Okay. Nice. Yes, experience is essential to any knowledge. Okay. This is a knowledge to be understood, cannot be experienced. Okay. Anubhava is required, but not in the sense of normal understanding of the term. What it means here is a direct intuition of oneness the Shruti is talking about. Okay. It gives direct knowledge. I think this is for the earlier question, I guess. Okay. Oh, you're saying experience gives the direct knowledge. Okay. Namaste. Anubhava itself could be a learning. Okay. Okay, that is good. Okay, let me just go to next question. This is another very famous phrase, and again lot of different people have used it. So there are different paths to realization, and they even give example. If you want to go to Tirupati or somewhere, there are many ways to go. You can walk it up there, you can drive in a car, or you can take a helicopter, whatever. There are means to go there, because everybody chooses a different path. Again, for emotional people it is bhakti, for intellectual it is jnana yoga, for people who can do kundalini and all that it is hatha yoga, and people are very action oriented, it is karma yoga. Like that it is said. Okay, so have you thought about it, or is there any views again? Okay, experience and experience, it's an exclusive ever. It doesn't matter if we get that through learning. Okay, that is on the previous question. No, only jnana can give realization. It is praptasya praptam. Good. Okay. Nanyaf panta vidyate. Okay. Good. Jnana deva kaivalyam. You can go through any path, but without atma jnanam, no realization. Good. These are sadhanas. Only jnanam leads liberation. Bhagavad Gita says all roads lead to bhakti ultimately. Okay. Only knowledge will give. Others are for chitta shuddhi. Okay. Good. Jnanam is the only path. Okay. This is what we have read. Not experience any realization as of now. Okay, fine. Very nice. Okay, good. Okay, so last one. This is not any question to you. I just any other things. I know we had some discussions on WhatsApp, so I will cover those. But if there is anything else specifically that you wanted my focus on, just put it in the chat, and I will try and address it today, or maybe in the next class, depending on whether I have the content on slides. If it doesn't need, I'll try and address. If it needs, then I will pick it up in the later sessions. But you can put it here, or we can always do it in WhatsApp also later. Okay. So with that, I know we spent 15 minutes on this. So let me directly move on to today's session, and I will address all those aspects that I asked you questions on. Okay. Om Prajnanam Shukratanehi स्थिरचरनिकरव्यापिभिर्व्याप्य लोकान् भुङ्क्त्वा भोगान् स्तविष्टान् पुनरपि दिशनोद्भासितान् कामजन्यान् पीत्वा सर्वान् विशेषान् स्वपिति मधुरभुङ् मायया भोजयन्नः मायासङ्ख्यातुरीय परममृतमजं ब्रह्म यत्तन्नतोऽस्मि. Okay. What is a means of knowledge? Before we get to the means of knowledge, we saw that the problem, the fundamental problem, can have two solutions possible. The fundamental problem was that I am limited. I am spatially limited. I am time-wise limited. And I am object-wise limited. And when I say limited, I'm extremely limited. I'm like insignificant in the grand scheme of things. We saw that spatially I occupy a very infinitesimal position in the huge scheme of things. And I am affected by all of those. Time-wise, like we saw, I am infinitesimally small. I survive for a very few years, and we don't know how many millions of years this creation has existed so far and is going to exist. Object-wise also, I am totally limited. Emotionally, I am vulnerable. I have no control on what happens in and around me, with the people I relate with, and all these are impacting me. And my own self-judgment about myself is also creating a lot of problems, because I am not able to accept myself as a very limited person, and I am not able to accept my behaviors in many cases. So there is a guilt, there are hurts, because when I pursued some things and I couldn't reach the goal, I get obstructed due to various reasons. There is hurt. So there is so much of dissatisfaction centered around all my limitations. Now, the only solution that could be, if this body is me, or something which is within this body, which we call as Sukhmasarira and all that, I know some of you had discussed it. If that is what I am, then I'm still limited. And that limitation will continue to have the kind of issues that I'm facing today, whether I am here, or I go to heaven, or I go to another place where some of my all seeks are being fulfilled. Some new issues will come up. So if I fulfill one wish, there is always another wish. So this is not going to stop. So we said two solutions are possible, right? One solution is I can incrementally get everything that I need, fulfill my wants, and remove my limitations. That is one possibility. Or the other option is, maybe what I take myself am is not necessarily true, and I am already a fullness which I don't recognize. That is one possibility. These are only two possible, because I am limited. Either I can acquire a lot of other limited stuff and make myself infinite so that I am fulfilled, or I recognize, if there is a fact that I am not limited, that I don't recognize today, and I am able to see that fact. So these are the two solutions possible. When we analyze this, the first solution is actually not a solution, because just acquiring a few more things is not going to make you full. There is always going to be something more that you will seek. Even if you have crores of money, like we saw last time, that is not going to make you secure. So there is only one. If you really want to be free, you have to look at the other one, whether there is any truth to it. And that is where Shastra comes and tells us that what you have concluded so far is avichara siddham. You haven't even looked at who you are. Only once you have leave the world, Ishvara, everything aside, do you know who you are. That is where, in fact, Brahma Sutra, Shankaracharya actually connects the Shastra to the fundamental problem. He says, whatever I have to call as this has to exclude me. Whatever I have to, again I'm saying, whatever I can call as this or that or you has to exclude me. And whatever I can call as me has to exclude the this part. But do we have that clarity? Can I say a me without a this in it? For example, I am fat. This fatness as an attribute is known to me through a this cognition, not an I cognition. I am fair. I am dark. I am short. I am angry. I am happy. I am knowledgeable. I am ignorant. All these aspects are known through a this cognition and not an I cognition. And wherever I am saying I, it is only these attributes. I am so and so. It's about attribute. And the attributes are known as this. I know it either as a witness or by directly seeing it. Witness means emotion is witness. It's not that I see through eyes or nose or whatever, right? I am witnessing that I am angry now. So Shankaracharya introduces Brahma Sutra by saying that it is very clear that there is a confusion on what is I and what is this. This alone is enough to start focus on it. Starting to focus on it. Okay, we can focus on it, but why do you need a means of knowledge? That is where we all, in today's modern Vedanta context, we need some clarity on. We are not talking about an information gathering. It is not, it doesn't help because we are trying to solve a problem of who I am. And that can't be through a belief. I can't give you a belief saying, hey, from tomorrow you just start believing that you are everything. That will be delusional. And you yourself won't have faith on it because you will know in your mind that you are only assuming. Just because some book has said that I am everything, I am infinite, I can give some Shraddha, some what I would say benefit of doubt to that book and say maybe it is right. So many people are telling me, therefore it should be true. You may give that kind of benefit of doubt for some time, but unless it is a knowledge, will you actually trust it? It will only to some extent. When some problem comes, then you leave all this, okay, and then be back to the same situation. So gathering an information or just intellectually, trying to figure based on some prakriya and models and all that is not going to make a huge difference. What is needed is actually a knowledge. Then if you see the fact that you are indeed all that is here, then it changes everything for you, which means it has to be a direct knowledge, not a theory. Hey, there is Brahman. There is something called Brahman, which is fullness. And if it is fullness, it has to include me. And therefore, I should be only Brahman. Okay. If this is how you understand it, then it is not a direct knowledge. Just because you heard it for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you are probably conditioning yourself to a thought that you are everything. That is not what it is okay to have because that's how we all start. But what we are talking about is a direct knowledge. Okay. Now, when we say direct knowledge, I will give some example. Okay. What is direct knowledge? Suppose I have to see a color, whether this, say, cup is black or white or green. Now my eyes give me a direct knowledge. That's called direct perception, right? Likewise, you are hearing my sound. There is a sound coming. There is a person sitting in front of me. All this is direct knowledge, which we call as pratyaksha. It's a knowledge because my eyes, ears are means through which I can know sound, I can know color, I can know forms. So these are means of knowing color, forms, touch, smell, and all that. So the window to the world of experience is these five organs that I have, correct? Sight, touch, and all that. We all know that. That is a direct perception. And most of science and all these things are either perception or things which are derived out of that perception, right? You can enhance the perception through telescope, microscope, and all that. And then you dissect it and then bring theorems, whatever. So the whole science works in the domain of perception, inference from the perception, and enhanced perceptions and things like that, right? And then we form theories, those kind of things. So you first experiment it, you observe things, and then you derive things out of it. So that is the realm of science, realm of all the other, most of the other areas of knowledge. So that is one means of knowledge, which is direct perception. Then we have inferences, many types of inferences. Like the general example which is given in Vedanta is, if you see smoke, you infer that there is fire, even though you don't see fire and you are seeing smoke somewhere, you can infer there is fire. So that means it is a knowledge that fire exists. It is not an illusion, but you haven't directly seen the fire. Okay. So it's not a direct perception of the fire itself, but a direct perception of smoke, which makes you infer there is fire, which is also a valid knowledge. So inference also is a means to know. Okay. Even though you are only inferring, but it is still a valid means, because what you got is a knowledge that there is fire. And that is a true knowledge, because knowledge has to be true to the object that you are knowing. And there are other types of inferences also. We call it as Arthapatti, Anupalabdhi, and all that. So we don't go into too many aspects of it. There are 5 means of knowledge other than Vedanta or Shabda that we speak about. So these all will give me knowledge. Anything other than this, suppose I read about something, okay, that is called Paroksha Jnana, meaning there is Swarga. Okay, it's actually not knowledge. It is a belief. There is heaven. Means you are believing that particular book. Okay. There is some loka called Patala Loka. How do you know? You cannot know, because perception doesn't tell you that. Inference also you can't make, because for you to make an inference, something should be seen. All you can say is, yes, there is a possibility of heaven being there. God sitting in Vaikuntha or Kailasa. Yeah, possibility is there. I am sitting here. You are sitting somewhere else. Maybe God is sitting somewhere else. Okay. There is a possibility. But even that possibility also you have to analyze. But there is a possibility. I can believe it. Okay. But you can't call it a knowledge. Now, when it comes to Atma, that I am infinite, suppose it is true. It can't be a Paroksha Jnanam, because it's not like Swarga, where it is somewhere else, because this is about you. So you can never say, yes, sir, Swami or Guruji, I believe I am everything. It is not a matter of belief. If you are everything, you should know that. I can't ask you to believe that you are everything, because it is you. So it cannot be a Paroksha Jnana. Okay. Now the question is, can be a Pratyaksha Jnana. Like in the case of direct perception or inference, can I see who I am by objectifying myself? That is also not possible. Why? Because we already said what is this has to exclude me and what is I has to exclude this. So that means this I can never be known through a this cognition. So I can never objectify myself. I cannot subject myself to an experiment where I observe this is what I am. I can't do it like that. Therefore, it is not available to perception, inference, and those kinds of means of knowledge because all of them fundamentally rely on direct perception. Even inference relies on a certain direct perception. Unless I know that I smoke depends on fire, unless I have seen smoke there, unless I have seen the fire there somewhere earlier, somewhere else, I cannot make these inferences. I should have the direct perception, memory of a direct perception, and Pakshadharmata. At this time, I should see smoke. Then I can make an inference that there is fire there because there is smoke. So all inferences are dependent on direct perception. This Atma, that is I, because it is not objectifiable, is not available for perception and inference. Therefore, these means of knowledge are incapable of revealing who you are. It can even reveal what is Ishvara. If the Ishvara or God is available, other means of knowledge can show you that. Because Ishvara is to me at this time. Okay, we'll come to what is Ishvara later. If Ishvara is God, the way we all perceive what God is, the God has to be available for perception and inference. So I do tapas and then God comes and stands in front of me, or he comes and shows up in my mind. Irrespective, that kind of a God is part of your Jagat only. Things that you objectify is how that God also will be. It's part of your world, not yourself. Okay. Now this I is not available for objectified direct perception or inferences. Nor it can be a paroksha jnana like Swarga and all. I can't tell you that Atma is Brahman, like there is Swarga, believe in it. That doesn't help. So we need a means of knowledge. So other than this, is there a means of knowledge? We say Shabda is a means of knowledge. Shastra is a means of knowledge. How can it be a means of knowledge? Because it is only words. Words can reveal what I already know. Words can show me, tell me there is a tree in my backyard which gives apples. Okay, so you know what is apples, what is backyard, what is tree, what is I, my, whatever. Each of this word is known to you, and the objects linked to that words are also known to you. So you can get meaning out of that. Here this I, which you are saying is Brahman, infinite. I don't know this object Brahman, whatever you are saying. Isn't it? So if that is the case, how can words reveal it? And how can words be a means of knowledge? Whatever I already have knowledge of, the word is a sound which represents it. What I already don't know, how can words reveal it? Is the question. But in this case, I ask you whether you know the I or not. It is totally unknown to you, or you know the I. You will say it is not totally unknown. Correct? You will say this is what I am. If I ask you, ask anybody, even a mad guy, okay, who is incoherent guy, that person also will say I am so and so. So that means I is not totally unknown, but I is colored, not known in the right way. If that is the case, let's assume, okay. So now here there is a little bit of assumption, isn't it? I don't know me totally is probably an assumption only. Some people waiting. 1 second. So, okay. So if that assumption is true, then that clarity can be given. There are many examples given. For example, let's say I have a reading glass. I put it on my head, and I'm going about my chores of the day for some time, and then I forgot that it is in my head, and I keep searching, where are my glasses? Where are my reading glasses? Everywhere I search. Then I shout at my wife, whatever I keep in this house, it gets lost. People just keep taking away things. So I keep it at some place, it never stays in the same place. Like that I'm making, then my wife comes. She has understood what's going on. And then she says, it is there with you. And I say, where I am? I am finding everywhere. It's not in my pocket, nowhere. Then she takes my hand and then shows it, hey, here is where it is. Now these glasses, I got a knowledge of. And this knowledge is the glass, the specs has always been with me, and I never lost it. So I got my glasses, the knowledge. I gained it. Meaning, it is there with you, but your attention was not there. You took that you don't have it, and you are searching everywhere else except you. But could you have objectified and seen it? No. How do you see your own eyes? Only through a mirror. So Shastra words are like mirror, because it is trying to show who you are. And that knowledge has to be a direct knowledge, but it can't be classified as paroksha jnana like Swarga, because it is you. Nor it can be classified as a pratyaksha jnana, because it is non-objectified knowledge of you. Therefore, we call it as aparoksha jnana, not paroksha, but not pratyaksha also. Means it is not a direct perception, but it is not of something which is away. Now the question is, can this be a purely an intellectual exercise? See, the question always people get it is, hey, you are saying all this, that is fine. But even after listening to so many years, people don't understand. It looks all, these words seem to say you are everything, you are Brahman, you are consciousness, all that. But how come we are not seeing it? These remain as words. Then you start searching for some other ways of, so consciousness also, again, you are looking at some theories around what is consciousness and this and that. Okay. Why is it? Because there are 2-3 reasons for it, right? There is a readiness here. This individual ego, the separation between the total and you is assumed, right? And there is an emotional person also here. It is not just a theory understanding, correct? So you are going, what are we looking as the final knowledge here? That you falsify the notion that you are limited, you are the small person, and then give a vision. The Vedic vision is make you see the fact that there is oneness here. There is nothing else other than that one. Which means this individual smallness is going to be falsified, seen as not there, right? So that means there has to be a emotional readiness to see that falsification. This individual ego is going to give itself up at some point. If that has to happen, then there needs to be an emotional maturity. So this knowledge is not like gathering some information or studying some science or math or whatever. Even though there is a need for readiness to learn and understand this, which is more intellectual only, to ability to see things, but more importantly, emotional readiness is also important. That's why the sadhana chatushtaya and all we talk about. Bhagavad Gita predominantly focuses on this readiness, even though it does talk about what is this knowledge, but substantial portion of Bhagavad Gita focuses on how do you get this emotional readiness. Okay, so if the pursuit is serious pursuit to free oneself, if it is a academic exercise of writing theses and all, that's a different thing. What are different kind of theories? They call it as theory. Advaitic theory of monism, all that. But that is okay. That is an academic exercise. How did Shankara approach it? All that kind of stuff, right? That is what is the use of that kind of a study? It's like one more, knowledge gathering exercise. That is okay. I mean, it has its own place. I am fine with it. But if we really are looking at Vedanta for your own liberation, your own freeing yourself from these clutches, then it is a different, what I would say, it's a different perspective, how you look at it. Okay. And that is where we have to talk about Shraddha. And what is this Shraddha? Okay. Shraddha means it's not like a faith or trust or anything. Actually, Pujya Swamiji uses a very good phrase for it. He calls it as giving benefit of doubt to Shastra, because every pramana is a proof of itself. What do you mean by that? If eyes see the color, only eyes can see the color. Ears cannot see the color. Tongue cannot see the color. Touch cannot see the color. The word see itself is relevant only for eyes. That means eyes are the only means of knowledge for color. But what eyes give you an information that this is red, this is blue, this is green, can also not be contradicted by your ears or your touch, because the domain of color is only for the eyes. If that is the case, then eyes are the means of knowledge to know color. Anadigatam abadhitam. It cannot be transgressed, nor it can be refuted. Vedanta also, if it is a means of knowledge, whatever Vedanta can show, only Vedanta should be showing it. That is number one. Number two, whatever Vedanta is showing cannot be contradicted by my direct perception or inference or any of those. These two, only if they are complied with, you can accept something as a means of knowledge. That is where even some of the other books may come and say that I am also means of knowledge because I only can give you that knowledge. But do they stand the test of the second, which is perception and inference? So if the perception and inference contradict what that particular book is showing you, then it can't be accepted as a means of knowledge. So if something is talking about heaven, eternality, eternality, if it is the right phrase, word, cannot start in time. You can't say heaven is eternal. You will go to an eternal heaven. But the moment you say you will go, that means you are right now not there in eternal heaven. If you are not there in eternal heaven, it can't be eternal. Eternal has to be above time. So now that means your inferences and your perception of whatever you have seen is contradicting what that source is saying. That means we don't accept that as a means of knowledge. That is one thing. Now, for a means of knowledge to work, you have to employ it. Except for eyes, nose, and all that. Even if you don't want it, eyes will pick up color, nose will pick up smell. Whereas Vedanta, you have to deliberately employ it. But even in the case of other means of knowledge, you should let it operate. You can't abstract it, right? You can't close your eyes and say that I need to see color. So you shouldn't abstract it. And you should surrender yourself to the means of knowledge when the knowledge is taking place, right? You are not hindering it in the process. So Vedanta, if it has to work as a means of knowledge, you have to first give it a benefit of doubt. Maybe it has something to show me. Okay. That is what is called Shraddha. Giving it a, suppose it says something. Okay. There's one more thing that Puji Swamiji also says, right? Suppose Vedanta shows you something and you don't see it the same way. Suppose you have a conflict. Then are you in a position to question your understanding rather than questioning Vedanta? If that is there, that means you have Shraddha. Okay. Because you are giving a benefit of doubt and you are open to relook at your understanding. If that openness is there, maybe you will conclude again that my understanding only is correct. That is okay. But are you open enough to just see what Vedanta is trying to say? That is what we call as Shraddha, because a means of knowledge otherwise cannot operate. So that attitude is essential. Prayerful attitude, I said, because emotional readiness is needed. Why? There is a certain fact also. Prayerful means what? That all the limitation means you need help. When you are limited, you need help, correct? You don't, like I said, however strong you may be, even a president of America also has no control on COVID. So any human, however strong that person is limited. So the samashti, the total, is so powerful, right? And that is what we call as Ishvara. That samashti is Ishvara. The total is Ishvara, right? We will talk about Ishvara sometime. Now, with that the case, it is any thinking person would take help from the total, because you can recognize that you are limited. Otherwise, it is a bloated ego, because you are not seeing the fact. So that approach should be, whether it is Vedanta or whatever, you need to have that kind of prayerful attitude towards this. Then only the means of knowledge can operate. Because if your ego is always standing in between, it is bloated, then it's only an intellectual gymnastics, right? It doesn't help you. That's why in some of the other traditions, like Visishtadvaita and all, they talk about Sharanagati. To some extent, you work on your ego upfront so that you are ready to gain this knowledge. Okay, so that is number one. Now, I think we are running too late for addressing all the questions. Let's get to some of the questions. When does bandha start? Did it exist even when in womb? Was a question. Now, this means you have to understand what is a jiva. We'll come to some of whatever I started in the next class. I'll address some of the questions, because otherwise the context will also be lost if we take these questions in subsequent classes. It's better we quickly address those. We have 8 to 9 minutes. So what is this bandha? Correct? We have addressed in the last session. So there are few things which are anadi. We cannot say started in time. We can't say Jiva started. I got this bondage limitation in time. Brahman was initially free. Suddenly it developed this bondage. We can't say that. How can suddenly if the Brahman total fullness is full, it can't suddenly take itself as small. A knowledge which is there is there. So that means the Jivatvam has to be anadi only. Now, what is Jivatvam? That I am limited, this limited me, the ignorance, all that has to be there, timeless. Now you might ask a question, if it is there forever, how can it go? Okay. Now that is a different plane of see, we have this where Vedanta also we need to understand there are two planes of reality. One example that is given generally is clay and pot. Let's say you didn't heat and then make a pot, right? It is clay, and in clay you have made an object, whether it is pot or lid or whatever it is. So the clay hasn't transformed itself into a pot. By remaining clay, it is now a pot. So that is kind of Srishti we talk about. Okay, we'll come to that. Now, did the bandha? So that means we are saying this whole Jivatvam itself is false. Okay, that is the final vision. That is the true reality, and then we talk about empirical reality. So I know this is something we have to cover. Now, if this is the case, the Jivatvam or bandha has to have been there forever. It didn't have a time start. It didn't start in time. Then what happens when I don't have? See, when I say I was in the womb, or if I was born as a tree, if I don't have the ability to know myself, then was the bandha there? Suppose I am a tree. Okay, tree also is a jiva only, right? And it didn't have a mind to know itself. Even some animals and insects, it doesn't. We don't know if it knows itself, right? It concludes about itself. So the bandha is not cognized. If the bandha is cognized, then is it there or it's not there? So we have to see that. That is where we talk about unmanifest and manifest. Okay, bandha cannot start in time. Ignorance couldn't have started in time. Therefore, it is in an unmanifest state. Okay, these are models. We'll come to models. I know it's getting late. And this is a big question, right? This whole debate in that WhatsApp was around what is Jiva? Okay. And there was this Jiva travels out with all coverings of karmas, samskaras, while body is Jada, goes back to earth. Okay. Is this Vedantic question and all that? Okay. Now, we have to again look at two planes of reality. When we talk about Jiva, let's say what is Jiva? Okay. So this Jiva and all, his definition is not only from Vedanta perspective, right? There are other like Urma Purana and other things which also talk about it. And all the rituals and other things are also based on this Deha Vyatirikta Atma is what we call. Okay. Something which is in this body other than this physical body. Okay. So there are Sukhmasarira is what we talk about, the 18 things in it, the 5 pranas and 5 organs of action, karmendriya, and organs of perception, 5 of them, jnanendriya. Then this mind, manas, buddhi, ahankara, and all that. So all these together is what we call as Sukhmasarira. Now when we say Jiva has to travel, it goes to Swarga, it goes to heaven or whatever, it can't be without Sukhmasarira, because then how do you say, suppose you do some wrong, let's assume there is a karma theory, right? You have done some papa and some punya, right? Everybody does. So there's some set of papa, some punya. Now you are going to go somewhere and you are going to experience some pain or pleasure based on your punya papa. That has to be this. If I say I have done a wrong, just let's say that, okay, and I have to go and experience a pain for the wrong I committed. That cannot be without the Sukhmasarira, no? Then what is the relation? It can't be. So if I have to be punished for something I have done, it's all assumption, okay? Let's say I have to be punished for what I have done, then there should be a link. I should be the one who should be experiencing that pain. Then only the justice is done, correct? Suppose I killed somebody, okay, and that is a big papa. Now that connection between this person who has killed and the person who is experiencing a punishment for this killing can be there only if the Sukshma Sharira goes there. If it is only Karana Sharira or the basic thing, then this person only is experiencing that pain is not there. Correct? So that's why Kurma Purana and other things says when Jiva travels means what? The Sukshma Sharira Abhimani Jiva is the one which is taking. So there was another question, right? Where is the imprint? Okay. Where was this? I have some lot of things based on this. I think we have to kind of continue it in the next session. But there was this question: what is the transmission, storage, recall, and distribution of karma palas and associated vasanas? Where are the imprints stored and all that? So the imprints are with the jiva only. Okay, that is where this prarabdha, purusha, the different kind of karmas, right? Sanchita, agamya, prarabdha karmas are there with the jiva only. Okay, the jiva is the one with the sukshma sharira, which is going one life to another and one place to another and experiencing it. Okay, so that's why in fact in those days they used to talk about parakaya pravesha and all that. Shankaracharya went from this body to a king's body. All that they used to talk about. So we don't know. Some of these are kind of, if you believe, we believe. If not, we don't. But that is how it is. If you are to understand this jiva traversing and all that, how is it associated? It has to be with the Sukshma Sharira only. Okay, we'll talk about Avataravada later. We don't have enough time now. But and this Panchabhuta, okay, so let me just take 1 or 2 minutes and then probably come back to this. Okay, so because I have a lot of material I wanted to cover on this, because I saw that there is substantial lack of clarity on this. But coming to just 1 or 2 points I'll say and close for today. Okay, see, we have to understand what is called a Prakriya. When we talk about Panchabhuta and all that, these are called Prakriyas. I'll talk about Prakriya in detail. See, there is no hard and fast commitment to these models from Shruti. Okay, I know this sentence was a little confusing. Again, let me state it. The commitment of Shruti or Veda or Vedanta is not in showing how the creation took place. In fact, we dismiss the creation. Veda dismisses the creation. Like the creation is like clay becoming pot. When we say dismiss, the truth of the pot is dismissed and shown that the truth of the pot is nothing but truth of clay. So the creation as such is dismissed, right? Because what exists always existed. So there is no creation. So the tatparya or commitment is not to show this Panchabhutas are created. So this whole scientific thing about earth, space and all this whole focus is not to show that this is how the creation happened, but to show that all that is here is nothing but that one Brahman. That is the commitment. Now, to show that, there are 2 ways of doing it. Okay, one is Drishta Srishti, another is Srishti Drishti Vada. There are 2 vadas that we use. You observe what is here, what is the so-called creation, analyze it, and then take you towards the truth which is Brahman. That is called Shakagra Chandra Darshana Nyaya. Okay, you see the moon through a tree branch. Though the tree branch has nothing to do with the moon, but to show you the moon, you start with the branch of the tree in front of you to show where the moon is. That is called Srishta Drishti. What is Srishtam? What is the creation? You see that, observe that creation, and through that you are taken to what is the truth. All this Panchabhuta Prakriya, Panchikaranam. There is also Trivitkaranam. So the 5 elements model, 3 elemental model, all that is there, because in the Srishti you just start with the Srishti to show that everything here is Brahman. Now, in order to show that it is Brahman, the model is used. Panchabhuta model is used. So you can't, it is not, your commitment shouldn't be in proving this 5 elemental model or whatever. So that is where you have to understand it to be a Prakriya. See what is the commitment. What is Vedanta revealing to you? The vision is what is the focus. So with that, so all the questions that we had, if we look at it from that frame, we can easily address it. Okay, I will talk in detail. I had prepared some content around your specific questions on this Panchabhutas and what is Sukhmasarira and all that. Though it is not the context of this Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya Upanishad also is a Srishta Drishti only, but it looks at it from 3 states of experience. Whereas this Panchabhuta and all that is covered in some of the other Upanishads like Taittiriya. But we will talk about it because since people are having some of this confusion, I will dwell on it. But the broader thing that you have to see is these are all Prakriyas, because in one Upanishad it says Panchabhuta, another is Trivitkaranam, there is in another one it is looking at it from 3 states of experience. So these are, you look at the Srishti and then get to what is the truth. That is how these have to be seen. Now, if there are people who, I have some examples where people are contesting, I don't trust this, it is not understandable. Kashmiri Saivism talks about this in a different way. That to me is appealing, and it goes into all that because people are getting very finicky and obsessed about this particular Srishti Krama. How Upanishad has shown, I don't agree that from space air has come. See, that's not the intent. We are not here to prove how creation, whether Big Bang is true or whether from Om everything came. That's not the intent. So we need to understand that we are not here to dismiss or validate or contest with what scientific inventions or theories have brought out. That is not at all the intent. Okay, science is in the domain of perception and inference and all that. The Vedanta is about the thing which is employing all this perception and inference. So it is a totally different thing. So we can't, the commitment should not be in what that Prakriya's detail is, but it is about what that Prakriya is trying to show you. So we need to shift that. Okay, so all these questions, let us look at it from that context. I know we have spent a lot of time on introducing the means of knowledge, but I will talk about these questions. And meanwhile, if any more, you can just send it on WhatsApp. I know it will be a lot of preamble, but it is important that we clarify this before we get into Mandukya, because otherwise, if we have some of these basic things not cleared, it becomes very difficult for you to understand what is being spoken about. So we can spend 1 or 2 more sessions on this if there is more lack of clarity in some of these. Okay, so with this we will we'll stop for today. We'll see you in the next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद जी.
धन्यवाद.